2022 is shaping up to be the year of fantastic, affordable custom keyboards, and this one is no different. Enter MWStudio's MW65 Lite, and not only is it very affordable, it also has a very good feature set, including a knob if that's what you want, though there are a few caveats which we'll get to in this review of the MW65 Lite. So what is the MW65 Lite? Well, it's an upcoming keyboard and we received this prototype unit from MWStudio. It is a 65% keyboard with the option to add on a knob in the top right corner. But at least for this prototype unit, you do need to manually solder it to the top right corner. There is a switch socket there anyway, so if you don't want the knob, you can just put in your own switch, which is exactly what we did because I'm not too big of a fan of a knob, especially on a 65% keyboard. Aside from that, this is also an isolated gasket mount keyboard, and with the flex cut on the polycarbonate plate, this is a very flexible keyboard with a nice, comfortable, flexible typing experience. It also features a hot swap PCB, obviously as with most affordable custom keyboards, and this prototype unit has an acrylic case, but do note that the final retail unit, as we were told, will have a polycarbonate case instead. And it's also worth mentioning that the USB-C port on the left corner here will be relocated to the middle in the final unit through the use of a daughter board, so you don't get this exposed look, which is honestly not that nice. The group buy for the MW65 Lite has not been announced yet, though we were told that it will happen relatively soon, and it will be priced at only 429 Chinese yuan. That comes out to only about 285 ringgit or 68 US dollar, and without a doubt, this is an excellent price tag for this custom keyboard. If you don't want to get it through the group buy, the ready stock of this keyboard will go for 480 Chinese yuan. That's about 320 ringgit or 76 US dollar. Now on to the good stuff. One of my most favorite features of the MW65 Lite has to be its nice sound signature, in my opinion. Thanks to its isolated gasket mount system and polycarbonate plate, it has a nice, clean, poppy sound signature, especially with the Akko CS Silver switches that we have installed on this keyboard. Further improving the sound profile of the MW65 Lite is the PE shade in between the PCB and switch. Makes for a more marbly sound signature, if that makes sense. There are also pour-on foams in between the plate and PCB as well as the bottom case. If these sound like too much foam, don't worry because it doesn't mute out the keyboard too much. It's also worth noting that you may get a deeper sound profile with the final retail unit because it comes with a polycarbonate case instead of acrylic, which is what this prototype is. After all, acrylic is usually, at least in our experience, higher pitch than polycarbonate. Next is the typing feel of the MW65 Lite. As mentioned, it's very flexible, very soft, and it makes for a comfortable typing experience. You get this level of flexibility not just because of the isolated gasket mount system, but also because of the flex cuts on the polycarbonate plate. Really, you are getting a very comfortable typing experience on this keyboard. Of course, with any keyboard that supports a rotary encoder, it's worth mentioning this as a positive for the MW65 Lite. Granted, a lot more keyboards feature this particular knob nowadays, but it's still not as common as, say, having a blocker in the bottom right corner for the arrow keys, which I quite like for the MW65 Lite because it's nice to have a separation for the arrow keys. Last but certainly not least is the sheer value for money that the MW65 Lite offers. Even compared to, say, the Melectric Zoom 65, which went for 179 US dollar for switches, keycaps, as well as a fully aluminum body, I would argue that the MW65 Lite offers even better value for money. After all, it starts at only 68 US dollar. I mean, yes, you don't get switches, keycaps or stabilizers with this keyboard kit. Still, the value is amazing, guys. I mean, you get a nice soft typing experience as well as a fantastic sound profile, at least in my opinion, and it's really a great starting point for beginners. And that is actually a good segue to the not so great stuff about the MW65 Lite, starting with its build experience. Thanks to its affordable price tag, this is obviously a keyboard that beginners will look into, but that's the thing. This is pretty damn complicated to build. The main issue is the bottom case of this keyboard. It requires you to stack these acrylic pieces in a particular manner, and then you have to line this up with the other side, and then you have to put this together like an origami. And I took like an hour plus just to assemble this particular part, and that is with a build guide. I wouldn't say this is impossible to assemble because it's not, but it is a little bit complicated. But my biggest qualm with this design, even if I like the looks of this two-tier appearance, it creaks. Thankfully, MWStudio is looking at redesigning this whole bottom part, so it should be less complicated to build, and hopefully it wouldn't creak like this. Another aspect of the MW65 Lite that I don't quite like is this exposed USB-C port. Thankfully, as I've mentioned before, the final retail unit will move this port to the middle of the keyboard, right at the bottom case here, thanks to the use of a daughter board. In retrospect though, my two biggest qualms with the MW65 Lite will be fixed in the final retail unit. So hopefully MWStudio will make the bottom case easier to assemble for beginners, and once that is done, I reckon this will be the perfect keyboard for those who are new to the hobby. So should you get the MW65 Lite? Well, in my opinion, yes, absolutely. Especially if you don't mind getting keycaps, switches, stabilizers, everything else to complete this keyboard. Yes, if you just want a keyboard that works out of the box, the Zoom 65 is a better option. But this is a custom keyboard, and as its name suggests, you customize it to your liking. The Zoom 65 may come with everything that you need, but it may not be what you want, especially if you don't like the keycap design, though why don't you, because it's Olivia. Anyway, you get my point. Because with this keyboard, you can select your switches, you can select your keycaps, and you don't have to take out the JWK switches out of the Zoom 65, for example, if you don't like it. With this one, just get the parts that you want, and it's a cheap entry point as well, which is really the most important selling point of the MW65 Lite. And that is our review of MWStudio's MW65 Lite. The group buy has not been announced yet, so hopefully it will happen soon, and once we do know when it will happen, stay tuned to this channel as well as our website nextwave.com for the latest news. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and enjoy this sound test of the MW65 Lite.